Athens is a little rowdy. Being a Georgia kid, I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about Athens for 4 years.
Oh,
That's
it's
the exact
glorious.
reason Aaron went to
That's the
Georgia.
exact reason why. Drew took me on my
Yeah,
visit. I
nah.
was like, yep, where's the papers?
Yeah,
Let me
this sounds
sign.
good.
Yeah, I was like, nah, it's gonna be way too many people. So I was like, I'll go to Auburn. It's a little calmer.
This is Campus Lore Live, where NFL players are the experts on college football. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside Aaron Murray. And on this week's episode, we are joined by Terry McLaurin from Ohio State and Darius Slayton from Auburn, two teams that are off to great starts with big-time football games coming up this weekend, college football heading into Week 6, Aaron. A lot going on, kind of a little bit of really anticlimactic games a week ago, but we're starting to get into the thick of conference schedule and conference play. And one team that was in conference play a week ago had a little bit of a tough time is one that you called, and I'm talking about Clemson, the number one ranked team in the nation, and North Carolina, the Tigers just squeaking out a win.
Let's not forget, these are 18 to 24-year-old kids here. They're going to have up and down days. And even in the NFL, they have up and down days. That's why you always say, listen, it is tough to go 12 weeks, 13 weeks, 14 weeks, to be perfect every single week, mentally, physically. And we've seen in years past, that's why I brought up last week, every year Clemson has that one week where it's just like, where did that team go? What happened? And North Carolina's a good defense. Coach Mack's doing a great job so far in his first season. They got a freshman quarterback who's taking care of the football. The recipe was there for that down week for Clemson. And the way they've been playing offensively, too, going against a tough defense, you thought they'd come out the gates a little bit slow, which they did. I don't love the call. I'd love to hear what you thought on this one. But the two going for 2 points, the crowd was incredible for UNC.
Yeah.
A lot of offside penalties for Clemson the entire day. Tough with the communication, with the noise. So the defense is playing great. I thought the offense was doing pretty good. Obviously, they had that late touchdown to almost tie it to get to 20 points. And then they decided to go for 2. I'm 50-50 on it, but I'm 0% on the call.
Yeah,
There just was not a lot of options. No pass threat at all. It was that triple option almost where the quarterback could hand it off or you could take it, run it, pitch it to the running back also. Just did not like it. When you get 2-point conversion, if I'm the quarterback, I love as many options as I can. Get 5 receivers out there. Let some guy get in the back of the end zone, have a 2 high beater to this side, a single high beater to this side, and then if no one's open, run around and try to throw it up.
Yeah.
So don't love the play call. It's unfortunate because I do think if they went to overtime, the way the game was going, I think North Carolina could have had a shot.
I think the going for 2 was the right thing to do. Obviously, I completely disagree with the play call as well. I love what you said. Go 5 wide. If nothing's there, scramble around. Just try to make something happen.
Throw it up.
At least you'll have options in the end zone to get the 2 points. But the reason I think there is pause for concern to say why didn't UNC just kick the extra point and see if Clemson could score or put a field goal up on the board with less than a minute left. Nothing Clemson had done throughout the entire game showed UNC, hey, we should be scared because Clemson can just go get 70 yards against us quickly. And that brings me to the bigger concern, and that's what's up with Clemson's offense. Only 21 points against UNC. Yes, I know Coach Mack Brown has that defense playing well, and they had nothing to lose going into this game, hosting the number one team in the country. But you're talking about Trevor Lawrence, where people are saying he's the greatest quarterback ever to play college football. Travis Etienne, who is a Heisman contender and will continue to be one throughout the season. And unbelievable deep threats, Justin Ross, T. Higgins Jr. I mean, what is going on? The offensive line seems a bit, it seems like cheese. There's holes in it. And Trevor Lawrence is the sophomore slump for real.
It is for real because you look at Clemson's team offensively, just as a whole, and the running back, the quarterback, the receivers. You look at Alabama, same thing.
Yeah.
But Alabama is just crushing it right now. I mean, touchdown after touchdown.
It's crazy.
And they have, like I said, they have just as good skill position players. They have just as good as a quarterback. Offensive line's about the same as Clemson and Alabama is. It's down to Trevor Lawrence right now.
Yeah.
60% completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, 5 picks. He just
can't turn the ball over like that.
He's turning it over, but he makes throws. You're like, that's it right there. Like some of those back shoulder fades, you're like, dude, that's an NFL arm.
Of course.
Like he makes those throws, but then there's inconsistency. So it's just, I don't know if there's too much pressure, if he put too much pressure on himself or what it is, but he just has flashing moments. It's not the consistency that we saw last year with him throughout the season and through the national championship. So Listen, the good thing is for how bad they've played offensively,
Still won the game.
they're the number 2 team in the country
Yes,
now.
they are.
But they're still in the playoffs, and that's all that matters.
Absolutely. You bring me to my next point. Clemson almost loses. Alabama shows their offensive dominance, and the roles reversed. Alabama now the number 1 team in the nation, but a lot of teams getting first place votes. That top 6, like we've been saying for the last 6 weeks, is wide open.
Yep.
You can put them wherever you want depending on how they play each and every week. But Clemson, number 2 now. We always said we thought they might win every game on their schedule by 20 or more points just based on how the schedule looks for them. They better get it going or else they can continue to slide backwards.
The good thing is we'll say it every single week, Clemson doesn't play anyone else that's ranked.
Yeah.
Where Alabama has multiple ranked teams inside the top 10. LSU does. Ohio State's to play Wisconsin.
Yep.
So all these teams will beat each other up, and someone will, become victorious and really solidify themselves in that top 4. But Clemson's just going to keep skating by, and I hope their offense gets going because when they are moving, they're exciting to watch right now. But
no question.
I think the committee, the AP poll got it right, though. I don't think right now you can't say just because they won the national championship last year that they deserve to be number 1 the entire season. If they're not playing like a number 1 team, then they don't deserve to be the number 1 team. And right now, I would not even put them at number 2 based on the way some of these other teams are playing in the country.
I would have to agree with you based on the way other teams are playing in the country. And one team that really surprised me last week with a great performance was Notre Dame. Number 10 ranked Notre Dame welcomed in number 18 ranked Virginia out of the ACC, of course. And Notre Dame won 35-20. I sat here last week and I said, I think Notre Dame could be in a tough spot because of the physical game they had at Georgia the weekend prior. They were away, they traveled, they got banged up. That was a hard-hitting football game, and you sit there and you say, wow, this could be a tough spot for them. Bronco Mendenhall, good defensive coach in Virginia. Bryce Perkins can move around. Notre Dame showed up, and they played well, and they covered, and they won 35-20.
Well, the defense showed up, especially the second half. 8 sacks, 13 TFLs.
Yeah,
you want to talk about playing physical football.
Absolutely.
And I think five total turnovers, 2 picks and 3 fumbles. So defense just balled out. At one point, Virginia, I wouldn't say was in control of the football game, but I think there was a lot of confidence based on the way they were playing the football. And then all of a sudden, defense for Notre Dame just hit a switch in that second half. They said, hey, listen, we're at home. And we still believe that we can make the playoffs, which I think you and I
get to that next. Yeah.
I don't think we'll hold off on that one, but they did step up. It was good to see that they could play physical football for a second week because you can always get up for 1 week. Prime time, 8 o'clock, CBS. You're in Stanford. You're the underdog. There's nothing to lose, so let me just go out there and play my hardest. Great. Can you do that every week? And they proved that maybe it wasn't just a flash, that this team can be pretty darn good against whoever they play.
Let's talk about Notre Dame and the college football playoff because the national media, the water carriers for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, are already on the stump saying this team has a case to make it to the college football playoff for 2 years in a row. Let's remember they lost 2 weeks ago to the University of Georgia, who's the number 3 ranked team in the nation. Notre Dame is still ranked number 10, so each win that Georgia has makes Notre Dame look better, and each win Notre Dame has makes Georgia look better. But here's their remaining schedule: USC, Virginia Tech, Duke, Navy, Boston College, Stanford. All right, before we even talk about their remaining schedule, you're asking, or I'm asking you, I'm asking everybody, does Notre Dame have a legitimate chance to get into the college football playoff? No. I can name 9 teams that have a better chance of getting in to the college football playoff ahead of them right now.
But right now, that's the thing.
Of course.
If Notre Dame goes 11-1 and then all hell breaks loose and all
it would have to. That's exactly correct.
Literally, all hell will have to break. Percentage-wise, we're talking about like a 5% chance here right now of all these teams having 2 losses and then just it just being sloppy football towards the end of the season. Notre Dame just continue to win. But I just don't think they're going to have enough primetime games. I know they have the NBC contract. They'll be on TV, but at Michigan right now is their big game. USC, another big loss for them. So they're not as good as maybe people were hoping they would be. And Stanford's been underwhelming this year as well. So you just don't have any more really, besides Michigan, who I don't think anyone's on the Michigan train right now anyways.
No.
There is no one that is left on your schedule where like that's a big win that we could tip our hat on.
Absolutely. Thanks for reminding me that they have to go to Michigan. That will be a good game. A team that had shown much, really all of 2019 is Florida State. They've won 2 in a row. Watch out. Are the Seminoles back? They beat NC State 31-13. Alex Hornibrook filled in for an injured James Blackman. I'm still not sold on Florida State.
No, it was good to see that they could finish a football game.
Yes,
They were
well
up
said.
and they kept the lead. I mean, let's not forget, this is a team that could be 4-1. If they won, which they should have won week 1 versus Boise State, this is a 4-1 football team with a lot of confidence. I still think it's a good team offensively. Hornibrook surprised me because I'm not.
You were not big on him last year.
I'm not a big fan on Hornibrook, but he balled out in that game. Maybe you just need a couple more receivers and Cam Akers at running back to really get him going. But he looked pretty good. No interceptions, which is very rare for him when he goes out there and plays. But I think Blackman, when he gets back and healthy, I've liked what he's done this season. This team just needs to learn how to win football games. They got to learn how to finish. I think they're starting to understand that right now. But they got some big games left. I believe they have to go to at Florida, obviously, at the end of the year, and then at Clemson, I believe.
Yeah, they better start studying on how to learn to win football games because they're off this week. So's Clemson, luckily. They get a little break after that scare UNC. And then Florida State has to travel to Death Valley. Remember, Clemson absolutely embarrassed Florida State a year ago. It could be 2.0 as far as I'm concerned. I do not think that will be a close game. Keeping it in the ACC, Virginia Tech falls to Duke 45-10. It was the Hokies' worst home conference loss since 1950. Justin Fuente, I mean, he's got to get it going here. It's interesting because everybody knows that he's a good football coach. I think his lack of recruiting is really showing up here. Duke, 45-10?
This is a
That's
Duke
not
team.
Virginia Tech.
No. And you think Virginia Tech, you think defense and dominating. But listen, he's a $15 million buyout, so I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you don't have depth because you haven't gone out there and recruited and got guys in there, that's going to be some issues, especially as the season gets going and guys get banged up. They can't go 100%. And they got to figure out a way to run the football. At the end of the day, football is still going to be, can you run it and can you play defense? Right now, they're not playing defense and they're only averaging about 3.6 yards per carry. That's not going to get it done. I don't care what conference you are playing in.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Beamer left, and 27 of his signees are gone. This is really the first time that Fuentes had to play with a lot of his own guys, and they're just not showing up right now. And that is a very historical and proud football program. Let's hope Coach Fuente can get the Hokies back in the mix of things. A lot of good games coming up this weekend, and 2 conferences are really going to be put in prime time, the Big Ten in the SEC. Let's talk about the Big Ten right now because there's a lot of teams kind of scurrying up that top 25 board. Obviously, Ohio State's looking really good. Iowa's looking really good. Wisconsin's probably one of the most surprising teams through the first 5 weeks of the season. What would you say right now? Who's the second best team? Because I think we can all agree Ohio State is class of Big Ten right now.
Ohio State right now, offensively and defensively, is on a different level.
Yeah.
Last year defensively, we're like, they have all this talent. Why aren't they producing? And then all of a sudden, you're seeing these guys really shine right now. And then Justin Fields he's playing himself into going to New York for a Heisman finalist right now. I mean, everything you want, not turning the ball over, rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns, doing a great job in the pocket. So right now, Ohio State is one of the best, if not the best team in all of college football, most complete team. You look at them, there's not a real weakness you can point to. But I would say second best to me is Wisconsin at the moment within that conference. Can run the football. Jonathan Taylor's doing a great job. They're not turning it over, and their defense is incredible. I mean, that defense, you turn on the film. There's one time they timed up a sack perfectly where the quarterback was saying set hut, turns around, and a split second later, he's getting just absolutely boomed in the back. Fumble, touchdown. It is a fast defense. They disguise coverages really well. That's going to be an interesting battle. 2 good defenses, 2 good offenses when those two teams do match up.
That will be a great game for sure. And I'm really just looking over the statistics right here, and I'm reminded so much of Ohio State last year. They were really good. Dwayne Haskins, they had a ton of offensive talent. They went to Purdue and just absolutely laid an egg. Say that happens again, and Ohio State takes a bad loss, end up winning the Big Ten. Could a one-loss Big Ten champion make the college football playoff?
Yeah, I think so. But, I mean, you have to have some help when it comes to, obviously, Oklahoma. If Oklahoma goes undefeated, Oklahoma's in. Clemson, undefeated, SEC champions in. So that's 3.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, then we look at a LSU or, say, Alabama wins.
Okay.
We'll just say Alabama wins. Then you're looking at an LSU or Georgia, depending on how that game goes. If Georgia-Alabama's super close in the SEC championship game, you could make a case either way. So, I don't know. I don't see anyone beating Ohio State, but no one saw Purdue beating them last year. But sure. I do think this year's team is significantly better than last year's Ohio State team. Last year has had a ton of holes on the defensive side of the football. This is a lot more complete team. So unless Wisconsin beats them, I don't see anyone in that conference doing it.
You mentioned the SEC, and right now, through 5 weeks, there's a ton of parity in the SEC. Look at the SEC West with Auburn, Alabama, and LSU looking great. Georgia and Florida are both still undefeated in the SEC. Who makes it to Atlanta? Because I want to throw this out to you. Say Auburn, Alabama, and LSU beat up on each other, right? I mean, you're talking about Alabama beating LSU, LSU beating Auburn, and then Auburn beating Alabama in the Iron Bowl. It's going to be a complete mess. The tiebreakers would have to come into it. You could really be looking at a situation at the end of the year where LSU, Auburn, and Alabama, in any order, are ranked like 5, 6, 7 in those last couple of weeks.
I'm with you right now. And right now, of all three of those teams, Auburn is the most complete football team. Because you look at LSU, defense has been a question mark this entire season. They're banged up, but not been playing up to the potential. Alabama defensively, those linebackers, not getting it done. That front seven, we're not used to seeing that from an Alabama defense. So two defenses, not very good. Offense is elite. You look at Auburn right now, defense elite, one of the best. You know I love that defense. Probably the best defense in all of college football. And the offense has slowly gotten better each and every week. Start off slow. Gus is kind of getting his juices going, getting that creative mind going a little bit. Their Bo Nix is playing really well. The receivers are healthy. That's a complete football team. Offense and defense right now playing great. So I'm with you. I think any team on any given day right now could beat one of the other ones. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when they do start facing each other off.
Do you buy Florida right now? Remember, Felipe Franks is out. Yes, they're undefeated. They have a really tough stretch coming up. And I'm not hearing them in the national conversation because I don't think people believe in Florida.
I believe in Florida's defense. I believe in Kyle Trask. I think Kyle Trask really showed me a lot these past couple weeks. Just watching the film on him, his timing, his accuracy, his anticipation, does a great job spreading it out. Tight ends are getting involved in the offense. Offensive line's a question mark. When you start playing Georgia, when you play Auburn this weekend,
watch out.
That front five is just, they're not very physical. They're not doing a great job getting to the second level. So Kyle Trask, for how good he's playing, he's not going to be doing good if he's getting knocked around left and right. And that could happen going forward when you start playing some of these really good SEC defenses.
Absolutely. And I'm really Auburn is showing up every single week. They have that big game.
Can the fans get off Gus's back now?
I mean, who knows? Who knows? I have questions that I can't wait to ask Darius Slayton later on in the show. But right now, we're going to go talk to our first guest, and that's Terry McLaurin from Ohio State. So check back in with us. We'll have Terry McLaurin after the break. We are back. Welcome into Campus Lore Live, and we're going to bring in our first guest, Aaron. Our first guest is Terry McLaurin from Ohio State. He is currently with the Washington Redskins. He was a third-round pick. And Terry, thanks so much for joining us this week. We've been talking about Ohio State. They got a big game coming up this weekend, and my man Aaron here has the Buckeyes as his #1 team in the nation through 5 weeks. Pretty good start for Ohio State. What do you think about how they're looking so far?
I think they look great. I think they look like a top 4 team in the country early. You can see the hunger that they have this year. Coach Day's doing a great job of preaching toughness and consistency as well. That's why I think you see both the offense and the defensive side are kind of more harmonic this year. And I saw a stat where they're in the top 10 in both respective categories. So they started really fast.
I want to push it back to last year for a quick second. How, as a team, do you get through the off-field kind of issues going on with Coach Urban Meyer? Obviously, the suspension. Coach Day comes in as the interim head coach. What was the feeling like in the locker room as you guys went through camp heading into the season?
Yeah, well, it was tough losing Coach Meyer. Obviously, he was our leader, and, it was a lot of things that were out of our control and we didn't expect coming, especially so close during the year. And then, we just, as leaders, me being the captain along with the other leaders, we just wanted to try to control what we could control, and knowing that we couldn't control what was going to be the outcome with Coach Meyer, but we could control how hard we worked. And I guess one benefit you could say is it was happening during camp. So we were together all day long, and they even turned off ESPN and things like that. So we didn't have to worry about the outside noise. But Coach Day tried to be himself, which I feel like everybody gravitated to. He didn't try to replace Coach Meyer. He tried to keep everything as normal as possible.
Speaking about that leadership, a year ago, you obviously were a team captain. Dwayne Haskins, your teammate at Ohio State, now your teammate in Washington with the Redskins. What was it like playing with him, man? Because he was so good as the quarterback for the Buckeyes, and you as a wide receiver, him in creating that chemistry, you guys were really able to do some special things.
Well, yeah, I mean, Dwayne, I can't say enough great things about Dwayne because, he basically jumped into that quarterback position. And if you think of the history of Ohio State quarterbacks at Ohio State, then, that came with a lot of responsibility for a young kid. But he came in there being a senior. I tried to make things as easy as possible on him, try to make sure that he was comfortable. And as well as the other receivers as well. We had a plan going in because people may not know, but we were heavily scrutinized at the receiver position. So we kind of had that chip on our shoulder. And, having Dwayne back there made our job real easy too.
Speaking of quarterbacks, you guys have a new quarterback this year, Justin Fields, former Dog, transferred in and has been absolutely killing it right now, running the football, throwing it. He looks great. What are your initial thoughts on him through this first part of the season?
Yeah, I mean, Justin has really played with a lot of poise. He almost played. It's not like this was his first time starting for a program. So I think it's a credit to the staff, Justin, the work that he's put in, and just how Coach Day has allowed him to be comfortable and use his strengths. I feel like Coach Day does a really good job as a coach of helping a guy reach his full potential without skewing his scheme. So I think Justin's done a great job managing the game. He hasn't thrown any interception, which, I mean, Coach Day, he'd be the first to tell you that's probably the best thing on his list. So he's doing a really good job.
You talk about Coach Day, and obviously tons of success last year with Dwayne Haskins. Before that, J.T. Barrett, Cardale Jones. Would you say Coach Day is the type of guy that would adjust his game plan and his preparation for the talent that he has rather than making that talent adjust to a set game plan? Because Justin Fields, like Aaron and you just said, is absolutely on fire right now. I'd give a lot of that credit to Coach Day.
Most definitely. I feel like even last year and the year before that, Coach Day just does a really good job of putting the players in positions to be successful. Dwayne wasn't necessarily running as much, but it doesn't mean the offense didn't have that type of option in it. The playbook's pretty much open, but Coach Day emphasizes the things that the quarterback or the receiver, the personnel does well. So the system is what it is, but it's definitely tailored to the type of personnel we may have.
So, Terry, you're talking to two SEC guys. We both went to Georgia, and we won't hold this against you, but in your mind, what's the better conference, the Big Ten or the SEC? A lot of SEC teams in the top 10 right now, so just throw some facts at you. Who do you got?
I mean, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to go with the Big Ten. I mean, I just feel like, I guess the Big Ten West is a little iffy sometimes, but I mean, you got team up north, you got Michigan State, you got us in Penn State. Those are four top teams on the top 25 every single year going at it for, one side. I can't necessarily speak to all the SEC talk, but I'm gonna rock with the Big Ten.
You talk about the team up north. You never lost to Michigan, and they are not off to the best start so far in 2019. They got a big game against Iowa, obviously, coming up this weekend. But I want to ask you, what's the toughest place to play? Because I remember tuning into some of those whiteout games at Penn State. They would save those for Ohio State, and y'all would have some awesome battles.
Yeah, I'd definitely say Penn State's at the top of my list. Norman, Oklahoma, going up there, 2016 was pretty tough. But Penn State, that whiteout, you could literally not hear anything on the field. You're standing right next to your teammate or your coach, and you can't hear it because they're just so loud, and there's a zombie chants and the "We Are" chants all game long. And that's a factor because a lot of teams aren't used to playing in front of that type of crowd. So even as much as we try to blast the music to prepare, nothing can prepare for you to see all that white throughout the whole stadium, and they're loud on every down.
We know it. We talked about this earlier. It's tough to get up every single week in college football. It's tough to bring your A game. You saw it last year with you guys versus Purdue, had that one drop-off week. Michigan State's a good football team. Do you see a possible drop-off this week of them sneaking up on Ohio State?
It's hard to tell. You don't go into a week thinking, you're going to have a down week, but I'm definitely sensing that it's a big game. It's a Big Ten it's Big Ten championship ramifications, and they always come in with a tough defense. Coach D'Antonio's teams are really tough, known for their tough ruggedness, and Coach Day knows that they're going to have to prepare for 4 quarters after coming off of a night game and away. So hopefully the home crowd gives them a little extra juice, but we know every year with Michigan State is going to be a slugfight. We don't even take into account the previous games.
Well, if you're expecting a win this weekend for the Buckeyes, like I think probably both of us are, Aaron, the next question is who's the biggest threat to Ohio State the rest of the season? Iowa, Penn State, the team up north, Wisconsin in a Big Ten championship game possibly? What's your outlook for the rest of the season for the Buckeyes?
Man, I don't like to be a person who goes, we're going to go undefeated. I've never been that person, even when I was at Ohio State, because each opponent brings its own difficulties and challenges. And when you're the Ohio State Buckeyes, you guys know going to Georgia, you're going to get those teams' best shot. They may be, 3-4 at the time, but they may play the best game of their lives that game because they just have you circled on the calendar. That's what they've been working out and preparing for since the offseason. So when you're kind of the top dogs, you got to really be prepared each week in, week out. So, the one that I'm really excited to see, not looking too far ahead, is how they respond on a Friday at Northwestern, because that throws off our schedule a little bit. But we beat them in the Big Ten championship. I know they've been preparing since that last moment to be ready. Obviously, Wisconsin is going to be big, but Northwestern, they could get you.
Urban Meyer doing a good job on Fox right now, having some fun. Do you see him possibly getting back in the coaching? You think this is just a little year or two off, have some fun on TV, take a little vacation with the wife, and then jump back into college football in the next couple of years?
I don't know. I mean, me and Coach Meyer are actually pretty close, and I talked to him the other day, and we don't really even talk about football. At the end of the day, me knowing Coach Meyer, I know the type of guy he is. I know how he's wired. Football is what really drives him outside of his family. He used to tell us his family and us. That's all he has. That's all he really cares about. So, but I think he's doing a phenomenal job on Fox. Giving a different insight that I feel like is not really out there from a coach's perspective, a locker room perspective. So at the end of the day, me personally, I just care that he's happy, and I know his family will support him either way. So as long as he's healthy and happy, I don't really mind what he does.
Terry McLaurin, I thought we were going to get another great answer so we could call it back when Urban Meyer jumps into coaching, but you did give us something to call back when you said watch out for that Northwestern game on a Friday in Evanston. Ohio State looks pretty untouchable right now, but they should have a fantastic chance to get into the college football playoff at the end of this season. So Terry, thanks so much for joining us this week on Campus Floor Live, and we look forward to catching up with you later on this season.
Man, I appreciate y'all for having me. I always go Bucks.
Awesome. Hey, when we come back, we're going to have our second guest, Darius Slayton from Auburn, and the New York Giants joins us next. Come on right back. Welcome back into Campus Floor Live. Big thanks to Terry McLaurin for joining us as one of our guests this week. And with that being said, Aaron, let's welcome in our next guest. It's Darius Slayton from Auburn University. Darius is a fifth-round draft pick this past year with the New York Giants. And Auburn is off to an unbelievable start in 2019. Two of the best wins in college football thus far. That neutral site game victory over Oregon and then going to Texas A&M to beat the Aggies. And then the hits don't stop. They are headed down to the Swamp this weekend to take on the number 10 ranked Florida Gators. That defense seems for real, Darius. You were just there a year ago. How are you feeling about your Auburn Tigers?
I'm feeling really good about them. I was excited. I watched the Oregon game here at the house. I was, screaming, knocking stuff over when Seth made the big catch. It's different when, you cheer for a team, but when you know the guys and, it's just a proud feeling.
A guy that you weren't with last year but came in the spring, Bo Nix. What are your thoughts about him? Because he's a kid, you see him week 1 versus Oregon, looked good, made some big-time throws. Like, okay, he has the potential to be great, and then just baby step. I alluded to like a baby crawling, and then this week he stood up.
Oh,
you're like,
out,
holy smokes, he can walk now. This is pretty impressive. I've been really impressed with the young kid, freshman, going out there doing his thing. What are your thoughts on Bo Nix?
He's been really impressive so far. Obviously, we were recruiting him. I heard a lot of things about him. I actually got a chance to watch him play in his state championship game. They came and they played in Jordan here my last year there, and got a chance to see him then. And he looked really good and really poised in that game. So I'm not surprised. A lot of people said he was going to be a really good quarterback. Our coaches have a lot of confidence in him, and it's been fun to watch so far.
Speaking of your coaches, Gus Malzahn play calling again for Auburn for the first time since 2016. And last year, actually, in the bowl game, y'all played in the Music City Bowl against Purdue. He called the plays in that game as well. Y'all scored 63 points, and I have to give you a shout out. You had 3 catches for 3 touchdowns and 160 yards. That's like video game stuff. But my question is this. Auburn looks really good on the offensive side of the ball, and Bo Nix seems like he's growing into that starting quarterback role like you just mentioned. Why did Gus Malzahn ever relinquish the play calling duties? That was probably the biggest thing that Auburn was missing over the past 3 seasons or so.
Yeah, I think you just, obviously, you hire offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, obviously to coordinate the offense and defense. So I think for a while there, especially when we had brought in Chip, he just kind of was trying to be the head coach, and kind of back and, let him do his thing. But I definitely think Coach Malzahn thrives his best, when he just wraps his hands around it and, lets loose.
You're from the state of Georgia, grew up here in Atlanta. What was the feeling like playing in that football game, going into Sanford Stadium, playing, Georgia going to you guys to play? Was there any kind of, family hatred, like texting you, oh, I wish you were wearing red and black during this game? Or how was that kind of feeling going into there?
Yeah, definitely some of that for sure, and definitely some bitter Georgia. Like I said, I was committed to Georgia at one point in time, so there's still some people who happen to remember that commitment flip and didn't let me forget it. But those are always fun games.
Absolutely. A lot of guys that Georgia has on their roster, Auburn recruits, and vice versa with the Auburn Tigers. Darius is a great example of that. Let's look towards this weekend. And it's a big game. There's no doubt. Both teams are undefeated, ranked in the top 10, and Auburn's defense seems so legit. Aaron and I have been talking about it, and Florida's offensive line has a lot of holes in it. What do you think happens this weekend? Can Coach Malzahn and Bo Nix get another huge win on the road?
I think it'll definitely be a tough game. The Swamp is one of the most legendary places, in the SEC. And, I wish that's one of the few places I wish I had a chance to play when I was in college. But I'm definitely looking forward to them going down there and getting a W. I think our defense will play really well, especially I believe Florida's starting quarterback is out, correct, with the injury. Yeah. So I think they'll definitely have a good chance to win the game, hopefully be able to go out there and come away with a win.
Drew was talking about your video game-like numbers in the bowl game. You turn on the film of LSU and Alabama right now, and those receivers every single week are putting up video-type numbers. It's incredible to see. Talk to us about how hard that actually is, because people are like, man, they make it look so easy. They catch a slant and take it for 70 yards. This is still SEC ball. They're still playing against SEC guys that were recruited by big-time schools. How difficult is it that the numbers that they're actually putting up right now?
Extremely difficult. I mean, like you said, a slant to the house. I mean, it's a fine line between it going to the house and between that linebacker knocking your head off. So it just speaks to kind of the timing they have between their quarterbacks and receivers and their ability to make plays.
I got to ask you a question about the other team in the state of Alabama, and that, of course, is the Alabama Crimson Tide. It's so funny to talk about which strengths each team has. Auburn, of course, the defense, and Alabama's offense is literally unbelievable, the numbers they're putting up. Tua and Devontae Smith, what they were able to do last week against Ole Miss, crazy. Who do you think is playing better through 5 weeks of the season? I think I might know what you're going to say. Give me your honest opinion, Auburn or Alabama heading into week 6?
I think both teams are playing really good ball, but I'll probably give my guys a nod, more so just because of the opponents we played. Started off the first game with a top 10 opponent in Oregon, and then went out to Texas A&M and played them. They were a ranked team as well. So I think to get those 2 big wins, I believe Alabama played, Vanderbilt and some other people or whatever. So I definitely think that we're playing good ball, especially against quality opponents right now. Hopefully be able to keep it going.
Who in your mind gives the Tigers the biggest threat? We see LSU, the way they're playing football, elite football team, and then obviously Alabama too, and then Georgia late in the season. Which one in your mind is the toughest opponent left on their schedule?
Ooh, that's a hard question.
Got tough from top to bottom. Y'all got the roughest guys out there.
Yeah, I mean, those are all going to be dogfights. I mean, man, yeah.
You got Alabama and you got Georgia at home.
Correct.
LSU's on the road.
Yeah.
So if that throws anything into it.
Man, yeah, that's tough. I'd probably have to give LSU the nod just because, Death Valley is a hard place to go and get a win. Unfortunately, in my college career, we were never to go down there and get a win. I think it's been some years since we've won there, as a matter of fact. So that's definitely probably going to be a really tough game, a hard win to get. But, I'd probably just say that would be the toughest one.
Auburn's had really an unbelievable schedule, and it's not going to get any easier. Do you think the Tigers could make the college football playoff with one loss if they have it at the end of the season?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like you said, look who you're talking about. You're talking about 3 top 10 teams still left on the schedule. So even if they happen to drop one of those games, I definitely think if they're able to win out and be a one-loss team and go on to win SEC championship, I don't see how you don't put them in the playoff.
I'm with you. I do think that there's a great possibility of seeing 2 teams in the SEC championship game. Question for you: how's the transition been from going from an offense like you ran at Auburn, which is a little bit unique, to an offense in the NFL right now?
Completely different. Auburn's all about going fast and kind of short play calls and everything's so sped up. And, here things are a lot slower. You got to get in the huddle. You got to really listen to the whole sentence that's being yelled at you. So it's a lot different in a lot of ways, but I've been making the adjustment.
Absolutely. New York Giants, Darius's team right now, really having 2 great weeks back to back. They are 2-2, and the Auburn Tigers, your alma mater, man, I would have to say, probably the most impressive team, most unassuming impressive team since these first 5 weeks of the season have gotten underway. Darius, we appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much for being with us. We will continue to watch you for the rest of the season, and we will be right back after the break to dive into Week 6 and let you know what to look forward to this upcoming weekend. Come on right back. Welcome back to Campus Lore Live. Big thanks to Darius Slayton for joining us this week. That Auburn-Florida game, Aaron, is going to be a fun one. 3:30, of course, the SEC. And I just have to think that Auburn's going to show out, and Florida might be in a little trouble down there in the swamp.
Yeah, it's good thing it's in Florida, so the crowd's going to be crazy. 3:30, they're going to be lively. But the good thing is we'll keep talking about Bo Nix. Is he's been there, done that now.
Yeah,
that's for sure. It's hard to say about a freshman, but he's played in a big environment. That first game versus Oregon, he played in a huge environment versus A&M, 102,000 people, and I was there. I mean, that place was rocking.
Absolutely.
I'm up in the booth and it's shaking. I was like, damn, these dudes are getting after it down there.
Sweet.
And he wasn't fazed. He really wasn't. So that was good to see.
Absolutely. And Florida is in trouble. And that brings me to Be Bold, which is my favorite segment each and every week. And I don't know if it's bold enough, but I'll just go on a limb here and say Florida's losing their next 2 games. They have to welcome in Auburn and then go on the road and play LSU. Those are 2 top 10 teams, and Florida's a top 10 team right now. You can throw all the defensive stats at me, Aaron. I know where they're ranked in total defense. I know how many sacks they have. I know how many TFLs they have. I know how many interceptions and turnovers they create. They are losing the next 2 games. Florida is going to take a step back and then hopefully try to upset Georgia in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party at the end of October. I think the game might even be first couple days of November this year. But Florida's going 0-2 the next 2 weeks. Coach Dan Mullen is going to have a hard time keeping that team really rallied to keep fighting.
I like it. My Be Bold this week is going to be Ohio State at some point this season will be ranked number 1 in the AP poll.
Really?
Hey, just
in the AP only or any poll?
Any poll.
Okay,
Just give me, thank you. I appreciate that. Give me any poll for them. Right now, you watch them, they are, in my mind, the best. I think they're the best team in the country right now. I think if you put them on the field with Clemson or Oklahoma or Alabama or Georgia, I would take Ohio State this instant.
Yeah.
They look tremendous offensively, defensively. Justin Fields is playing at a different level right now, along with everyone else on that football team. The offense line was a question mark heading into the season. Can they replace a bunch of starters?
Yeah.
They've done a tremendous job. So right now, to me, Ohio State is the best team. And I think at some point, if Alabama slips, I think they would jump even Clemson to get to that number 1 spot.
All right, you heard it here. Aaron Murray saying Ohio State's the best team in the nation right now.
Yep.
Okay, I'll double down on that. Really a few great premier games this week, top 25, top 10 battles, and somebody's going to have to take a step forward and prove something. Who do you think has the most to prove this week?
I think it's Florida. Like you said, they got 2 tough teams ahead of them right now. Auburn at home, and then they go to Baton Rouge next week to play LSU. And going to LSU to play, the way that team's looking right
I
now,
know.
you can almost chalk that up as a loss. So you have to almost feel the urgency to win this week to at least split this, because you don't want to lose two. And you have a better chance of winning this one than you do next week. So I think that the feeling in the locker room and practice this week is, hey, boys, we can't screw up. We got to get going. That offensive line, I'm sure all the guys are like, guys, it's on you. You got to play better as a unit right now. And so I think they're feeling the heat. I think they have the most to prove of anyone in the country.
I think it's Iowa. I think Iowa has the most to prove this week going into the Big House to take on number 19, Michigan, because nobody's going to be surprised if Michigan loses this game, right? And Iowa usually does. I mean, I was just looking at the rankings this week. I'm like, there's Iowa, number 14. I mean, that's crazy. But then they drop a game, win, and then get like a nice top 10 win to end the season, flirt with a decent bowl game, and that's your typical Kirk Ferentz Iowa season. I think Iowa has the most to prove this weekend. Go on the road in a tough environment, get a top 25 win over Michigan, and say, hey, we are for real in the Big Ten West, and set up a great matchup against Wisconsin later on this season. So I am telling you right now that the Iowa Hawkeyes have the most to prove this weekend, and that leads me in to this upcoming weekend slate of games, and we'll start right there. Number 14, Iowa, heading into the Big House to take on number 19, Michigan. This game is the Fox Big Noon kickoff game at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, and these are two teams at crossroads. Michigan cannot afford to falter like they did against Wisconsin. They did get the nice 52-0 victory last week against Rutgers, but that's not really saying much.
That's Rutgers who just fired their coach.
Exactly.
So that's not a team that's actually, that's a Rutgers team that went 1-11 that's had one win this season. So you feel good you got to win, and you pushed what happened at the beginning of the season out of the way. Like, okay, maybe we're getting better. Shea Patterson, no turnovers. That's a good thing for him. Actually, no, he had one pick. So he couldn't even get through a game versus Rutgers without a turnover. So you're going against a good Iowa team, and then you flip it over. Nate Stanley doesn't throw any interceptions.
Just
takes care
really
of the football.
efficient. Yeah.
I just not, I was high on Shea last year. Now it just takes a couple games, and you lose my trust. So I really have no trust in Shea Patterson to win a big game, even though it's at home. I mean, Army went to the Big House.
I know.
Not scared, and Army should have won or could have won that football game versus Michigan. So Iowa's a better team, and I think they're going to prove it this weekend versus Michigan.
Michigan has to start fast. Look at what's happened the past couple of games. Army was a grind all the way through halftime, and then obviously Army had a chance to win late with a field goal, and then Wisconsin, they come out, and Wisconsin just slaps them right upside the face, and it's 28-0 after you blinked. Iowa's going to try to make sure Michigan doesn't start fast. They're going to run the ball. This is going to be a great Big Ten game at noon on Fox, and I think most of the nation will be tuned into this one because, hey, it's the premier game in that noon slot. Big noon kickoff should be awesome. I'm taking Iowa here. Who are you going with?
I'm going with Iowa this
Awesome.
one. I just think, listen, like I said, Shea, I just see Shea committing a couple turnovers once again in this game, really opening it up. Iowa taking advantage of it, good field position. Nate's going to punch it in, and I think Iowa wins this one. And I think it's over midway through the fourth quarter.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Hey,
I think they take care of business, man.
I said Iowa has the most to prove in week 6. Thanks for believing in me.
I believe in you.
Absolutely. In the SEC this week, Georgia's heading to Knoxville to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. This game's at 7 p.m. Both teams coming off a bye week. And Aaron, there's coach speak, and then there's some things that coaches say in the media that kind of make you scratch your head. Kirby Smart talking to the media today saying Tennessee's on the brink of something special and that they're a good and physical football team. Like, that might be borderline disrespectful because it's just not true.
Well, you have to pump up. You're not going to get up there and say, yeah, this team stinks. We're going to roll right through them, take the over, everyone.
I mean,
like,
what
this
do you
game's
say?
over. You have to pump them up, man. You got to make them feel like they're great.
I think Kirby's kind of covering himself because Georgia's banged up right now.
It's not Leach's comment, though, so that's all that matters. It's not Mike Leach calling his players fat and happy.
No. So what happens in this game? Georgia goes out there and takes care of business.
Oh, they dominate. They run right through them. The defensive line, Tennessee's offensive line is not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
They're not built for it. So I think Georgia goes in there, wins decisively. I think you're going to see more and more of these receivers. I do think they're going to open it up a little bit. They had the bye week to start working on some more stuff that they saw from game 1 through game 4. So look for the receivers to get involved. Look for maybe some tight ends too to finally start getting some catches for Georgia.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if James Coley, the offensive coordinator, kind of listens to the critics a little bit and just lets this one fly. They should be able to put up some points on that defense.
I don't expect them to go, throwing the ball 50 times, but I think 30 times max. just to kind of start, putting some more on Jake's play and putting some more on the receivers' play as well.
Georgia should get the victory in Knoxville. Let's head out west. Cal took a tough loss last week to Arizona State on Friday night, and Oregon is ranked number 13. The Pac-12 is in disarray. No more undefeated teams. Can Oregon cement themselves as the real favorite to somehow make it to the college football playoff?
Right now, it's them in Washington. I think those two teams, obviously Cal beat Washington, but that was a really kooky situation with the timing of that football game with the delay. So Justin Herbert's been having a tremendous year. I mean, started off the year very hot.
Has, man.
No
it's
interceptions.
His statistics.
Yeah, his stats are sweet. So I like them, and we always talk about home field advantage. Oregon, we talk to Pac-12 players all the time.
They say Austin for sure.
Washington and Oregon are two of the top places to play in that conference, so I like Oregon in this one.
Yeah, Justin Wilcox, though, head coach at Cal, great defensive coach. I'll be interested to see what he can throw at Justin Herbert's way, but Oregon simply has to win this game, and I think they do. The 3:30 game this weekend in the SEC is number 7 Auburn heading down to the Swamp to take on number 10 Florida. Look, Florida's offense is what it is. We can talk about their offensive line a bunch. Kyle Trask, the backup quarterback, is now the starter, and Auburn's defense is for real. That front four is going to eat. Derek Brown's going to have a monster day. I don't think this one's close.
No,
I think Auburn runs away.
I think Auburn runs away too. You look at who Florida's played these past couple of weeks, a lot of off coverage. They've been very easy throws. And I like Kyle Trask, but he really has not been tested. These receivers have not been tested. And you look at Auburn, and covering those dudes, they will play man-to-man.
They will
bump
man,
you.
yeah.
They will pop you in your face. They're not scared.
I know.
Plus, they have a defense line that can make your quarterback uncomfortable too. So I think it's going to be really tough for this Florida offense to move up and down the field. I love the way Auburn's really using their speed. I love the way they're using Slayton on all these jet sweeps. And very interesting, they've been pumping crowd noise in practice because you usually do it for an away game.
Games only, yeah.
So they did it before A&M, they did it before Florida. They've been pumping crowd noise for 5 straight weeks, even before home games, just to get Bo used to it, the noise. So I don't think it's going to be an issue for them. It wasn't an issue week 1. It wasn't an issue versus A&M. And it makes me feel like there's not going to be an issue in the Swamp when it comes to communication. They literally have had 5 weeks of practicing every single day with crowd noise.
Let's see if Emory Jones gets some burn in this game for Florida. Kyle Trask going to be back there running around for his life. If Jones can get in there, more mobile quarterback.
He looked pretty good. He came in the fourth quarter versus Townsend, ran a nice run. I think he was 6 of 8, looked pretty good passing the football. So I think he's going to have to get in there just to open things up a little bit in the run game.
I think Auburn wins this one decisively. Your number 1 team in America through 5 weeks is Ohio State, and they are welcoming in number 25, Michigan State. Michigan State's defense is good. Coach D'Antonio loves to run the football, loves to rely on that defense. What can he draw up to try to slow down Justin Fields?
Well, he's going to have to slow him down. I don't know how you do it, just with the talent, and then you got Dobbins too at the running back. Offensive line we talked about is playing really out of their minds right now. The biggest question for me is Michigan State's offense.
Yeah.
It's not very good going against an Ohio State team that's going to be at home. It's going to be loud. They're motivated. They've been playing really well. So at the end of the day, I just think Ohio State's going to have really good field position throughout this game. I see a lot of 3-and-outs. I see Ohio State getting the ball at the 40 or 50-yard line, only having 50 yards to score, and that Michigan State defense just wearing down. And you're going to see end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, big plays start to happen just because that defense is going to be so tired.
Yeah, Michigan State was able to score 40 last week against Indiana. I doubt they creep up in the 40s against Ohio State. Look for Ohio State to remain perfect this weekend. And then in the Big 12, Texas, ranked number 11, is heading to Morgantown to take on West Virginia. That's obviously a tough place to play. Texas putting together a nice little season. They cannot afford to slip up before that red rivalry game against Oklahoma.
Red River shootout, baby. Get rid of that third bar. Just get rid of that
tough
third.
To say.
It is. I don't even attempt. I just say shootout. I'm not going to mess with that. Yeah, they got to focus because they got the Oklahoma game next week. So it's tough sometimes when you have such a big game to focus on what you have at task right now. But I like them. They're just a better football team.
Yeah.
West Virginia offensively, you turn on the tape. They score points against teams that aren't very good, but teams that are good. And Texas' defense is not elite, but they're good enough to really give West Virginia some issues. Sam Ehlinger is playing out of his mind this year right now, so I like Texas to roll, get some momentum before they play Oklahoma next week.
Yeah, Ehlinger's got that Tebow feel to him where he can just take over a game, right? If something's going sideways, he's going to get in the huddle and say, let me take care of this. I'm going to make sure that we move the chains, put points on the board, and get out. with a victory. Well, week 6 is going to be awesome, and then week 7, week 8, week 9, we're just getting into the thick of this 2019 college football season, and it has been a blast. If you love college football as much as we do, make sure you check us out on Roku. The Campus Lore channel on Roku is available for you to tune in now. And Aaron, this was a good one, my man. For both of us, we will see you next week on Campus Lore Live.